Hello, today I'm going to discuss who would logically have created rape, just as an example, between God and the devil. Now, why would I make this video debating about two fictional characters that I don't even believe in? Well, I'll explain that at the end. I'll see if you can pick that up while I'm speaking. To start off, we must make the painfully obvious observation that God had to have come before the devil. Using this fact, we must decide who would have logically invented rape. Now, the invention of negativity, such as war and rape and thievery and murder, is commonly associated with the devil. But logically, this cannot be. Why? Well, if God has a divine plan, then the devil is too big of a piece to not be part of this divine plan. And besides, somebody has to be there to test man's faith. As one person commented, there can't be happiness without misery, right? People need to fall into darkness so that they can be pulled out by God's light, correct? So God must have created Lucifer fully intending for him to be evil. He couldn't have had free will, because if God made a divine plan, then he planned for every action that every living organism has ever taken. So free will can't be part of his perfect divine plan, because free will allows it to be changed and affected by any living thing. So if some old idiot come off the street and change this entire perfect divine plan, it's neither very perfect or very foolproof. So God must have planned every action of every molecule precisely, which eliminates the possibility of free will. So therefore, God creating Lucifer, intending for him to fall from grace and turn evil, is an act that is exceedingly cruel, because Lucifer was never given a choice. It was planned. So every time you're influenced to do something wrong by the devil, or somebody else is influenced to do something wrong and harmful to you, it's because God wanted it to happen. But this doesn't answer the initial question that I asked. Who invented rape? Well, if God planned for Satan to do evil things before Satan was created, then God had to sit down and say to himself, I will create this being, and he will do the evil of perpetuating murder, war, lies, and every sort of evil, malicious thing. So if God already had these concepts in his head before making Satan, and if he already had them in his head before anybody acted them out, then who invented said concepts? If he created the being who perpetuated the actions, then who created the physical actions? You can try and say that God invented the devil to perpetuate the concepts, that God didn't do them himself, that he wanted the devil to do this, and that the devil was evil enough to do this. But creating the devil is perpetuation, much like how selling guns to both sides of a guerrilla war is also perpetuation, even if you don't pull any triggers yourself. So God created rape, imagined war, dreamt up serial killers, and did it all out of kindness. That's asinine. That ties me back to my other question. How can you be happy without sadness? It's insultingly simple. A perfect being can do it if he desires. If he's perfect, he can make perfect things. Therefore, untainted happiness, perfect happiness without an ounce of sadness ever being introduced into the scene. He would be able to do that if he had that power. And besides, people who get killed by psychopaths, they don't get pulled back into happiness by God before they die, do they? So why would God deny them that chance, that opportunity to be able to gain that happiness from a bad experience? Does he really need to go to such extreme measures of kindness? You'd go to heaven with deep psychological scars given to you by the person who had mutilated and murdered you. And even if all wounds do heal in heaven, even psychological ones, if they do all heal perfectly, then why make sadness? If everything heals perfectly, sadness becomes a distant memory, because if you still have sadness, that's a wound, and it means it hasn't healed completely. It means you still have scars. Well, if all the wounds heal, sadness would be completely gone. So now you have happiness in heaven without misery, which contradicts the aforementioned question. So why invent evil, rape, war, murder? It doesn't help anything or anyone. It sounds to me like a cruel child with some small animals. And it sounds to me like a human interpretation of actions that wasn't given as much thought as it should have been. Now, you can't blame rape on the devil, because a pawn doesn't manipulate other pieces unless the player uses the pawn to do so. Belief in God, therefore, victimizes Satan as a pawn who had no choice but to do God's evil bidding. So it victimizes the devil, killers, pedophiles, suicide bombers. It's sickening and it's insulting. So what's my overall point? Why am I debating, like I asked earlier, over two fictional characters that I don't even believe in? It's because you can't worship God without contradicting the Ten Commandments if He wants you to. You can't worship Him without worshiping an evil, conniving, malevolent warlord. I'm Dustin, and this is the last bit of common sense. P.S. If you have any questions you want to ask me, you can put them in the comments section below, and I might include some of those questions in a Q&A video in the future. So, I'll see you all soon.